pressure.
So much pressure.
Welcome to. I called it the Handsome Hour last week. I guess it's the basketball beat.
You did. I labeled it the basketball beat. You said the Handsome Hour. I put the Handsome Hour music, or no, I put the basketball beat music over it, but I put the Handsome Hour bumper on top of it. We didn't know where we were
We
last
covered
time.
all our bases.
Exactly.
Yes. It's the Bull Sports Podcast Network, which we don't really promote anymore, but you know where it is. Just smash that like button.
Subscribe.
See Boiler Dad's quick casts.
Hit the little bell on YouTube.
770 views of a
content.
Game.
Guys, wow. it's March Madness. We can get this up to 1,000. We can get this to 1,500.
We can find 1,000 people who like Purdue.
Hey, cheers, fellas. Would you mind just cheersing here, just real quick? Hey, nice.
Oops, I might have the logo on it.
Yeah, there you go.
I said I was going to put these on the site, and then instead I drank bourbon.
Yeah, so correct.
I will get them on the site. Oh boy, we got
double fisting.
Oh my!
You can't. The nice part of the nice part about this is that you can't tell what it is or how irresponsible of a pour this is.
Mine has water in it, so
sure,
it does.
Sure, it does. Mm-hmm. You've gone back to your vodka on ice days.
There's it features
in a couple years.
It features a locking lid here. It features a screw on top, and Boiler Dad loves.
Listen to the freshness.
You stepped right over my joke. He didn't even hear it.
Oh, there you go.
Boiler Dad loves a screw on top. Who doesn't?
I like a screw on anything.
I mean, huh?
Not anything, but wait. Darn it.
So enough cups of those.
Hey, are these going to go live soon, Jay?
Yeah, of course. Just like this podcast. Right on time. I already said earlier that I committed to everybody on Twitter. I said I'll post these by the end of the day, like on Thursday, and then instead I drank bourbon. And
so I know the IRS listens to the Handsome Hour.
We don't make money on this.
We don't make any money, and we make so little money. Every time Jay, like this is not a joke. This is not a joke. Every time Jay's like, he'll be like, "Hey man, I got this great idea for this promotional product." I'm like, "Sweet," and they're always really good items. They really are. Before I know anything, he's sent out like 7 for free to people, and then the next one he'll be like, "Hey, these things they cost like $15. I'm gonna sell them for $9."
It's like the drill. It's like the drill tweet. It's like food $200, like clothing $50, candles $3,000. Somebody help me! My children are starving.
Oh boy!
Hey, so whatever.
I appreciate Jay has made us into we're a benevolent organization. I think that's good.
A benevolent organization.
I don't know if we're benevolent. We're just poor.
We're just poor,
right.
We have no business.
Poorly run, correct.
No, it's okay. But in all seriousness, we could chase nickels. We're not going to do that. We're going to do that.
No,
that's not the way we do things.
If the more money we make, the more people expect us to do things, and thus we have a run entirely away from the money.
Yeah, we want to be a shoestring budget. That's get a lot more cred, just like St. Peter's does. That thread you tweeted today, by the way, I just caught up on that.
Oh my gosh, is it awesome?
Like. There's a thread in each about a couple, like I guess a former student manager tweets about what it was like for St. Peter's basketball over the years.
Incredible.
Like just how bad the conditions are in their gym and next to their
how
gym.
Little resources they have.
Yeah.
Well, so like their athletic budget, I think by athletic, I know that who did UVA lose to the Golden Retrievers,
UMBC.
whatever, UMBC. Yeah. But like by athletic department expenditure, this was actually the biggest upset in NCAA history. Just because Kentucky is the top, and St. Peter's is one of the lowest.
Yeah. The stuff that I really like in that thread, one of them was like, we once had a basketball game canceled because of leaky ceiling. We couldn't practice some days because there was yoga class happening. Stuff like you're like.
They had a game, I think a game canceled because they rented out the court and had a blow up, had a jump ride there instead.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like it's incredible. Wow, look at this. What do we got here? On time. He says 9. He'll be here sometime.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Why are you
within
stressed,
the.
bro?
It's fine.
Stressed?
For
You
those
can take the
listening,
boy out of the Northwest, but you can't take the Northwest out of the boy.
Oh, the boy is back in the Northwest.
What? Your boy?
Your boy.
Oh, your boy.
it's a
I
Michael
hope
sighting.
Handel tunes in because he's been waiting to see you for years.
One of
So
my
have we.
favorite people.
Let's
He's
be
a great
honest.
dude.
I like him more than I like 2 of the 3 people on this call.
Hey, wait a minute.
I'll let
We'll
you
flip
guys
a coin.
figure out which 2 they are.
I'll let you figure out.
We'll roll a dice.
I love that. I say that all the
Depends on
time
the
about my
kid.
brothers. I'm like, I'll say it to my kids. I'm like, well, you've got that one uncle that I don't like, and then I won't tell him. I just walk out of the room.
You know which one, the jerk.
I-
Yeah,
I-
jerk.
I had an uncle who used to do that. He's like, I like 5 of my 6 nieces and nephews.
Just throw that little grenade into the middle of everything.
Yeah.
See what goes on.
Let them wrestle with it. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So for those listening and not watching, Anish is here, in case you couldn't tell. Boiler is here. And Michael just joined us from the Pacific Northwest, apparently. And wearing, is that your St. Peter's t-shirt? What do you got on there?
Yeah, this is my St. Peter's t-shirt.
I'm
all in.
You're
All in on the Cocks. The Peacocks.
What else is new? So I put up a poll. I decided to poll everyone on how they were feeling. Let me refresh this and see how we're doing here. I don't know if you saw, I said, for the show, please weigh in here on how you think Purdue versus St. Peter's will go Friday night. And their options were Purdue with a big win, Purdue loses, or Purdue wins, but I'm scared. And right now we've got...
it could still be the A.
Oh, you think it could still be A?
Yeah, you can be afraid and they still beat the hell out of that team.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
That's C.
Yeah.
That's C.
That's C. That's C, I think. I'm shocked. What's funny now is we have 346 votes and 0.3 are saying Purdue loses. So that's good. So 56% say a big win, 43% say Purdue wins, but I'm scared. So
excellent. What could go wrong?
Those are our people.
Did you guys see? I think my favorite tweet in the last week is, I don't remember who said it, but it's awesome. He called St. Peter's the Picos based on the pronunciation of Cockburn.
The
Picos.
Oh,
and I was
that's
like,
amazing.
dang it, that is brilliant.
It's good.
And it was
Well-
it's literally my favorite stupid thing I've read in a long time. I love it.
Well, if we're calling out sick burn Twitter tweets, I never want to give Anish credit ever for being clever,
No.
but
Never.
he usually stays away. Anish is usually good about staying away from. He doesn't weigh in too much on Twitter. He starts shit. He likes to play this. He's about to be like, no, I don't. But
I throw it. All of my sharp ones are in the group chat. I usually don't say them.
in, and then he acts like I don't engage. He just starts a brush fire. Pico de Gallo. So Anish said on Saturday, was it Anish? You said
yes,
that
correct.
St. Peter's has more Sweet 16s than Fran McCaffrey.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was
That's the best.
Incredible. That is, I had no idea.
26 years. That man has been a head coach for 26 years of real programs.
Yeah.
Now, again, his early programs, maybe they weren't favored to. They weren't favored, but you can stumble into a Sweet 16 every now and then.
I mean, even IU has had some Sweet 16s.
yeah.
He has won. I think he's won his conference 3 times. 26 years he's won any conference.
Okay.
So like that includes his early ones in bed. I think he won a tie, a
tournament. Oh, has he earned a tie?
So 3 times as head coach, he has won the conference and has not reached the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Tremendous.
That is
That's like you got to try, right? That's when I start asking the questions. I'm not kidding about this, and we know Fran is a tightly wound stress case. But when a guy shows his nerves to his players, it starts being reflected, right? And that's got to be a case that in the huddle he is just a wreck.
Well, you used to say that you felt like Painter's nervousness. The team
lips,
but they often embody their coach, right? And those Purdue teams tightened up the way he looked like he tightened up. And what was the credit we gave him a few years ago? He suddenly looked even when teams were making runs, he looked calmer. And then, wow, the team was calmer, and they thought, well, we'll get through this. Look at this. We got guys like him and Carson and people like that. We'll be all right.
Our Lord and Savior, I've put him behind me.
Lord and Savior,
he's right back here, dear sweet Carson.
You know, Carson was probably the best thing that could have happened to Matt Painter's career.
Oh my gosh, that's we were thinking about. I was thinking about this before, which was like he was the guy that taught him how to coach players like Jaden, like who taught him how to coach like wild loose cannons that eventually like you've got to rein in, but you've got to let them make their own mistakes and then have the teaching moment and kind of play through it, right?
Yeah.
It's what allowed him to trust his players as a coach.
Yeah.
Because, even Gene Katie, like coached with a lot of control over the team, and which was fine, really, for the most part, because those teams, with a couple exceptions, were not like the most talented teams in the Big Ten. So you needed like that discipline. But when you had someone who's like an otherworldly talent, like Carson or Jaden Ivey, you need to be able to let loose and let your good players do good things. And Painter had to learn that lesson with Carson a couple times before he completely embraced it with.
It's an interesting thought exercise, though, because like I'm watching right now as we speak on BTN, you can tune into Purdue playing Kansas in 1994. And if you think about the team, the players, the individual talents that were really guys that could take over a game under Katie. Okay. Obviously, Glenn Robinson was one. It was one of those things where it was absolutely undeniable how good he was, right? But there were very few guys like Carson who were like, okay, you can tell this guy is super flammable. He's probably a great one, but we don't know yet. So we got to kind of give him some rope to do some things. So when I think about the Katie teams, I think you had a lot of guys that were system guys.
Yeah.
Right. So pretend for a second, Carson Edwards would have been on a Gene Katie team in 2000 or 1999 when he was starting to get better at the tournament at that point. He was taking things better. He says, what I remember, he says he talked to Mike Krzyzewski about how to handle the tournament. And one thing he said is handle it as 3 2-day tournaments or 3 4-day tournaments. And so you go and say, let's win this weekend, right? And that was like a light bulb over the head of Katie. He was like, oh, wait a second. Okay, I've been thinking 6 games, right? And so now let's put Carson Edwards into that 1999 team or 2000 team. Would Katie have given some rope to him? I don't think he would have.
No, I mean Katie was wound too tight, right? And Painter's a different kind of guy, especially now, which is like he's so much more relaxed, even in interviews. Like he's always been a little self-deprecating, but also he just takes it less, not seriously, but he's so much less intense all the time, right? He cracks jokes during the sideline interviews, right? He was like, they're like, what was the key for you in that first little stretch? Well, they missed a whole bunch of 1-on-1s. I really hope they keep doing that,
he got asked about their defense, and he said, I just hadn't coached defense for 30 games. He said that in the press conference. When they asked about the defensive effort against Texas, he said, "Yeah."
He just dunked on Ostertag, guys. I think Purdue's going to win this game.
No, on BTN, they're replaying the Kansas game. One of 4 games that BTN replays of all sports.
That's totally the greatest highlight of all time. I love that highlight because then Ostertag daps him up.
Yes,
it's the best.
That's
Robinson's trying to be pissed off and mean,
right?
And it completely gets diffused.
We talked about this. I love Robinson's smile because he can't help it because Ostertag clearly says something like, "That was
not bad."
You're pretty good.
Let's remember how big of a human being Greg Ostertag was.
Right. 7'1", right?
7'1" and built like a farm boy. You know what I mean? And he just
farm boy strength.
An Eastern Bloc farm boy.
Well,
right.
By the way,
don't mess with them.
When you think about coaches kind of exuding calm and their team following it, it's a nice little segue into Shaheen Holloway in St. Peter's because, man, that dude looks so steady on the sidelines. And then I love his interviews, too, where they're like, you don't seem nervous. He's like, why? This is fun. This is a basketball tournament.
Right.
It's like
that's literally what we do.
It's basketball. Yeah.
It's so fun.
he's already got the Seton Hall job. It's so cool. I love that. Again, it's why I root for.
I want them to announce it like tomorrow. I think that'd be great.
They should announce it yesterday. They should ask the players, be like, "What do you think? Isn't it bad that they're ditching?"
Coach? Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Kevin is never at practice anymore.
Is he going to coach Friday? Yeah.
Kevin Willard, who is fine, but has coached Seton Hall for like 13 years or something like that.
Which is incredible.
Has now at this point, I think Shaheen Holloway has won more tournament games than Kevin
Holloway
Willard.
Would have been
That's a weird hire, by the way. Kevin Willard. I loved him on SCTV. See, that's
Fred Willard.
Oh gosh,
that's his brother.
Yeah. No,
Fred Willard joke.
There's like 5 people who got that joke.
Yeah, they're all on the podcast right now.
I beg your pardon. People know who Fred Willard is. He's a comic mastermind.
He is. I love him.
He is. But I do think it's interesting that Maryland was like, we're a Big Ten school. We're the only Big Ten school out on the Atlantic coast. We're in kind of a recruiting hot ground. You know what we need to take us to the next level? The dude that's been coaching Seton Hall to mediocrity for the last 13 years.
If you're gonna take a player, I mean, like honestly, I thought Ed Cooley was like should have been a candidate, right? Yeah. Ed Cooley's awesome,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, how is he better than? How's? I mean, to be fair, how's Willard better than Turgeon? Turgeon at his best was aggressively mediocre, but like he
nobody in the country underachieves quite like Mike Turgeon.
I'm not asking you, Anish. I
know nobody. Nobody. That's it.
The second round. Yeah. Let's. By the way, before we leave the Fran ineptitude topic, I also just want a little shout out to Brett Underwood, who's hot on his heels, trying to run up the same sort of record. Talk about doing less with more. He's had a lot of good players come through there.
At least he won the conference. I mean, like in the tournament, absolutely underachiever. At least he won the conference.
But let me just say, that's what I think, because I got into a couple back and forth, and I've been trying to avoid social media with Purdue fans who are, and I've seen it in the BS thread a few times, people being negative about Painter and about this team and about like how far the program goes and how they always grab out in the Sweet 16. Do you look at the programs who can't even make a Sweet 16?
No.
Like,
you know what though?
I'm not saying I don't want more, but man, like
this is old man wisdom. My dad just left. He came over for dinner, and we were talking about the next 2 recruiting classes. I'm really excited about the next 2 classes, and he says something about Painter. I said, I got to tell you, I'm happy that Painter's Purdue's coach. Like, I'm just happy. I hope Purdue goes to the Final Four. I hope they get over the hump this year. But I'm just happy that we've got a guy, like he does some things that piss me off and all of us. But like on the big stuff, I love this guy. We don't have to make any apologies for what Matt Painter is. Isn't that the best thing? And he wins a shit ton of games. Listen, this is like that's not a. I don't know if you guys have ever heard me put those words together. It's incredible how many games Matt Painter wins. It's incredible. And that's probably the main reason we say, how have they avoided the Final Four? Because they win so damn many games.
How do you not trip into one with that many wins? Right. Well, here we go. Here's the door is open.
Doors open.
I'm taking it one game at a time. I think each is a 1-game tournament.
Thank you, Anish.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready to move away from Illinois quite yet because I want to give a shout out to the most unhinged fan base, Illinois Twitter. Like, congratulations, you absolute nut jobs. Imagine what you do during the day. There was a whole thread of this guy just like all up in his feelings. And I don't know if it was a guy, but I know it was a guy who was all yelling at Jeff Goodman about not having Kofi Cockburn in his top 4, whatever, Naismith. Like, what an unjust thing. And it's like, you guys are just the tremendous work here. Like,
but they so I have a friend who grew up in Chicago and went to Purdue, and he has always told me that Illinois fans, and I'd never really thought about this. He said they've always believed football and basketball that they are a different level program than they are. They think that they are like beyond Big Ten pro. They think they're in a blue blood. They really do about both sports.
But it's not that they think that they're the next level above. they think they're like 3 levels above what they actually are. Because what has Illinois like ever done in football or in basketball?
Right.
They had Bill Self make a good team with Darren Williams once.
They needed a Boilermaker to take him to the championship.
Correct.
That was such a long time ago.
Yeah,
that was such a and that was one time. It wasn't like, well, that was a 6-year stretch of Illinois just dominating the Big Ten,
dude. And they had 3 pros on that team, didn't they?
3.
The Final Four team? Yeah, I think so. They were really good. They were really good.
So congratulations, Fighting Illini Twitter, for making like Duke fans, stupid. IU fans, Ohio State fans, Michigan fans all look like normal, regular run-of-the-mill fan base.
But like, if you look around the Big Ten, how many of those coaches, and we'd say Big Ten because that's who we watch the most, so like whatever. But like, you look around the Big Ten, how many of those coaches would you like be embarrassed to have as your coach? Like, at least for a little bit, like yelling at his players during a timeout, or in a press conference saying something stupid, or losing early, or flopping in a season. I mean, like, you got Shrewsbury, who's a Painter guy, and then you got Painter, and maybe who's the interim at Maryland, who they probably should have hired.
No,
Danny Manning.
Yeah, where he is?
He was there. Now I don't know where he is. He can take an assistant job at Purdue if he wants.
Be an assistant coach.
I mean, like, Danny Manning would have been a better hire than Kevin Willard. I don't get it. Anyway, Painter is like, it's so awesome because you never have to worry. He's like Jay and I were talking about this, like separate. He is every coach's favorite coach, and he's every reporter's favorite coach to interview. And to me, it's like, that's great. That's how you get everybody on your side. That's how you get Sports Illustrated and Pat Forty writing a, cover story on like, hey, Purdue, is this the year, like with Jaden on the cover?
Pulling Forty away from Rick Pitino long enough to write a feature on.
Hey, Iona's not in the tournament. Hey, Maryland could have just leaned in and hired Rick Pitino, by the way.
That would be amazing.
It would.
Somebody's gonna.
I would have watched every Maryland game next season if they would have done
that. So in the one game at a time mantra, we have St. Peter's in Philadelphia. It's going to be a road game. Like, I know that Purdue.
It's going to be the most hostile crowd they face in the tournament, regardless of how far they go.
Oh, in the tournament for sure. Like, it's going to be up there with like Rutgers, like the Rutgers game. I think Michigan was pretty disappointing. I think State was pretty disappointing. Actually, I'd say like IU, obviously, but like
Illinois,
it'll be up there. Yeah, Illinois, that was another great one.
Nuts. But like the St. Peter's fan, it's not even about like the St. Peter's fans because but it's when you're a 15 playing in the Sweet 16,
the groundswell, right?
Everyone wants you,
and right outside of Jersey. Right. I mean, like it's a
basketball mecca of the United States.
New Jersey, exactly.
New Jersey. Hey, we love Jersey,
and everybody knows that the general Philly area is just full of really warm, kind,
exactly,
easygoing people, good sports fans. So I think
good people.
There's no doubt it'll be a great environment.
Like that Purdue has to go to Zach Edey early and just put a cushion in him immediately. I mean, like, that's it. Like, it can't get close. You can't bring the crowd in it. You can't let the crowd, into this, because if they do, this is
put a cushion in Zach Edey. Is that what
cushion? Zach Edey with the cushion. Yes, inside. Yes, correct.
There isn't even really anything to talk about strategy-wise with this game.
It's
don't ride the horse that brought you. That's
not in a sense that like Purdue should like definitely win. It's definitely a win. All I'm saying is like it's just very clear when their center is 6'7", right. Like all you do is
they got 6'10" guys.
They got two 6'10" guys, by the way, and nobody's listed as a center, which is interesting.
Well, so Texas
6'10" guys come off the bench, I believe.
And one's a freshman and one's a sophomore.
One of them hardly ever plays.
I don't think they play very much.
How Texas got into foul trouble was this exact way. They didn't have any size. Because, first, shout out to Purdue for just taking care of business, right?
Beating Chris Beard. How do we go 25 minutes and we haven't talked about beating Chris Beard? Great.
I mean,
what a great
Painter
removal of a monkey.
continues to slay demons of his over the last few tournaments, right?
Yep.
Like we're gonna throw out pandemic years. Last year was, you know what, first round upsets happen. It happens to ask Kentucky. But this team has just gotten so much better at overcoming the things that Painter could never get through. And Chris Beard, man, that was we can all admit, right? We were scared to hell that he was going to just come in with a game plan that figured out Purdue.
Well, you know what he's going to do.
Great coach. Yeah. What?
You know what Beard is going to do. He's going to put pressure on all positions. He's going to play tough defense.
But let me just say, but weren't you surprised though that I thought it took Beard? How did it take him so long to decide to double Trey? Once it was clear Purdue couldn't shoot, because Purdue could not shoot, why not double down low?
Did you hear Painter talk today about this idea?
No.
This was great. So, I think they're almost daily now, the press, they come to the press. Yeah. But somebody asked Painter if he was at all surprised at the amount of fouls, and he said no. He said it's really an outcropping of teams coming in and saying, we're not going to double. We're just not going to do it. And then they realize, oh shit, these guys are huge and strong, and we cannot physically stay with him. So we're telling them, do everything you can to stop him from getting to the basket. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you've got a guy with 3 or 4 fouls, right? And so Beard, I think, went at it saying, be physical with these guys, but we can play one-on-one with them. And then they really realized in reality they can't.
Even at Texas Tech, when he had the Jarrett Culver and like the handful of like huge 6'7" wings, like NBA level wings, he didn't double. I mean, like that's really not what Chris Beard does. They trap in key situations and they clog the lane, so they overhelp, but they don't really double. So that's why
they do weird switches where they stick with the switch, don't they?
Which
is really, so they'll switch, and then that smaller guy will stay with the larger player for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I was watching a whole methodology, all these different types, and Beard has kind of revolutionized this idea, which I think is that an NBA idea that trickled down, or am I wrong about that?
You have to have the athletes. You have to have the length, and you have to have the athletes, which is why it's usually not done in college. Yeah. And Beard also never really plays with a center, right?
Right.
Like even his Texas Tech teams, again, that might have been, at Texas, he might get some of these 7-foot freak athletes, but at Tech, he didn't really play with the center. So what he was doing was stacking wingspan, and making timing so weird. Like point guards rely on rhythm, like to navigate the pick and roll, to see when the lanes are open. They take away that because they're, like Dowd said, their switches are so randomly timed, and they never double, and they're always physical with wings, which is why it was a perfect recipe to stop Jaden Ivey, right? But the problem, so on one hand, one of the things that the NBA said, like when you look at scouting reports of Jaden, is like he's not in a system that features him, because Purdue has a whole second offense based on 2 of the better post scorers in the country, right? So you can't just do the Carson Edwards thing where you play perimeter oriented, you crash the offensive glass and you get back quick on defense, right? Which ideally would be Jaden's like feature offense. But the way to win is what we did this time, which is when Texas is built to take away Jaden Ivey, you dump it down to Trey and you clear out. And you clear out in a way that Travion isn't even tempted to throw that turnover prone pass. He just relies on the fact that he's huge. I think we've gotten spoiled with Zach Edey. We don't realize that Trevion Williams is like 6'10", 280. Like he's
6'10", 280 with a wingspan that's freakish, right? Huge. And hands that are like that, like as big as my forearm. That's the soft. His hands are excellent.
So, I mean, like he was, and I feel like we've been very hard on him, I believe, over the last month for good reason, but we don't win that game. Purdue does not win that game without him. Purdue saw the best version of him, and Purdue's going to need that again, especially against, the next round, but just to put St. Mary, St. Peter, St. Vincent's, whatever Saint we're playing in the next round away.
The thing, you bring up an interesting point to me. You said we don't win the game without Travion playing the way he did, right? I'm not misquoting. Okay, so let's look at this real quickly. Purdue won by 10 points, but without multiple performers playing the way they did, Purdue doesn't win that game. Purdue doesn't win that game without Ethan Morton playing the way he did. Purdue doesn't win that game without – this is one that without First coming in, hitting a big three. And that's ice water, by the way. Those are hard shots. Purdue doesn't win that game without there's one other guy that I think played exceptionally that doesn't get a lot of credit. Mason Gillis didn't fill the stat box. He had a play, though, guys. They had a great baseline view, and you're looking at, I think, Trey and one of Texas's bigs battle for the ball, and Gillis sprints at a 50-50 ball with two ginormous humans and comes away with it. I was like, oh, I love it. I love it so much. But this is the whole thing about this team. Like, we can give credit to the guys that are easy to give credit to all day long.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many guys that played important, imperative roles in that game.
Well,
and they
at
a comfortable length. So,
that is the depth that we were talking about at the beginning of the season. Because we knew Gillis wasn't going to score 20 points a game. We knew Morton wasn't going to score 15 points a game. We knew all of those things. But when we talked about depth, we talked about how there are multiple players at multiple positions who know their role and can play their role in a really effective way, so that it doesn't come down to, can Ivy score 40 points and beat this team, or can we throw the ball in the post 50 times a game? And so where the team sort of had some struggles in the last month is that you looked at the box score and it was like Edie got his, Trey got his, Jaden got his, and then everyone else had 6 points. Right. And like 2 rebounds, 4 fouls, and 2 turnovers, right? It was one of those things. And what you're seeing with these games, especially in the Texas game, is that the role that we needed Gillis to play all season, Morton to play all season, like that is there. Now, the only piece that's kind of missing is Stefanovic is just a broken toy at this point. I don't know what's going on there. It might be the wrist. Maybe he's just going through a cold streak. But like literally everybody else went in and did their job. And I think that goes back to Brandon Newman in the Big Ten tournament, getting in there and doing his job. He made good passes. He hit open shots, and he didn't do anything else. And that maybe that energy is infectious. I don't know. But
I love the Big Ten tournament, and I always am excited for
it's
the team
greatest
to play.
tournament. Anish sold it to me. I am convinced it is a very worthwhile tournament.
You know what? It pales in comparison to the Crossroads Classic.
True. Fair enough. Fair point.
Good job, Michael. 2 of my favorite events, all wrapped up in a bow.
You know, I really appreciate the Crossroads Classic because it's the one thing that like Butler, Notre Dame, IU, and Purdue fans all agree on.
Yeah, we all hate it.
Well, man, so Sasha, like that's the thing is like, all of these players stepping up is really, in Sasha's stead because like, we wouldn't need those threes if Sasha kind of was there. It would have been, an even bigger win in the first round if Sasha was, hitting threes early. Sasha had some good looks in Texas, but I think other people stepped up. I think, and first of all, people are extrapolating his struggles a little bit too far. He was awesome through February, and that's kind of when I think end of February, beginning of March was when he started to hit that cold streak. But
can you bring up Todd Singer's comment here? I think this is a big deal.
Which one? Yeah, this one?
Right at the top.
Oh.
Nope. It's about his injury.
He had a 3 for 6 game after the injury.
Yes, and this is so LBD. You guys know the brains of the operation here over in the.
I think everybody knows the brains.
Yeah, everybody gets it. But he'll bring stuff up to me. It's awesome. Like we'll start talking about because I'll say, "Oh, that dislocated pinky really matters when he's running that curl and the quick release, and he's got to catch and shoot it. It really matters, and it's shown." And blah blah. And he says, wait. He said after he was injured, he went 50% in the game, and he brings that up. That's a big deal. So I got to tell you, I think adrenaline plays a big part of what, how much pain you feel versus don't feel. I also think there are certain magic medicines they can inject into your parts that do awesome things, but at the same time,
this is a basketball podcast out.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not talking about ED, huh?
Tragic medicines injected into parts. All right, let's get back on track.
All right, sorry, I'm back here. I'm back in the basketball. But the whole thing is that Sasha, regardless of the reason, someone asked the question in the margin. They said, "Is something wrong mentally? Is there a bigger issue?" And I don't want to get into that. I don't think it really matters. Like Anish was alluding to, there's a bigger thing happening. Sasha just isn't shooting well, regardless of the reason why he isn't shooting well. And here's the thing. We all want to see Sash bombing, and he's not doing it right now. Painter has made it very, very clear for all the people that have questions out about this. Yes, it was the IU game, by the way. He was 3 for 6, I believe. So, but Painter's made this very clear that Sasha does not play only because of his ability to shoot. Sasha, he says, is the coach on the court as well. He's the guy that understands the plays better than anybody. He's the guy that knows where everybody should be at all times. Even if he's not throwing, I think he's the best passer on the team when he's effective. I know he had a bad game last game, but I still think he is extremely important because of the fact he can say, hey, we're not doing what we're supposed to do at this situation, right? So I don't think there's any chance you'll see Painter pull him, remove him from
he'll start again.
Lineup. He'll start.
You don't mess with lineup.
And Painter doesn't do things that way, right? I mean,
no, but Painter, another way he's grown was I was so impressed with he's a master of now using the guys early in the season, knowing that he's going to need them later, not riding Sasha to the end, saying it's not working, and putting in Morton and first, who had some complete 0-minute games down the stretch.
Right,
he's playing crucial minutes, crucial, and doing it well. No obvious.
By the way,
think of.
2 years from now, remember that, because that is when this pays off, right? Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
These minutes pay off then, you know, and so it's the other part of this is like his length on the other side of it. Sasha's not a great defender, but his length at least gives them more of a chance, particularly against in size. I mean, like, he's just a big dude, right?
Honestly, you keep playing him. You keep shooting, and like,
because you know what, he's gonna hit when he finds it again.
Rain. Yes,
he'll drop 18 points in a game.
Well, that's one of my hopes for Friday. Okay, is that Purdue uses the formula that has worked and should work against this size team, right? Just chip away at them, do what they did to Yale, just grind, and then let Sasha shoot for a while. Like, that's my dream, is he hits 3 or 4 threes against St. Peter's and feels, wow, okay.
I'll say my dream is a little different, Jay. My dream is not St. Peter's dream. My dream is versus UCLA. He hits 3 of 6. Because if he can come back in, I'm not asking for something that is a far off dream. Yeah. We're asking for something we know he's capable of. And if he does that, remember, let's not forget the best version of this Purdue team is very deep and shoots the 3 very well. And this isn't like just funny business Purdue fan stuff. Purdue was one of the best 3-point shooting teams in America until February. Okay, so we're not talking out of our asses here. Mason Gillis now has become Ryan Smith with the pump fake, which is funny, right? Right? They're like, he gets it and he's like, okay. You're like, just pull the trigger, Mace. When you've got space, pull up. It's all right, right? But this whole team has kind of withdrawn to the point where they're not super comfortable. They can get there again. They are not playing a completely fluid brand of offense right now. They can get there, and they can get there in this tournament. That's exciting.
It's the downside of like the emphasis that it looks like everybody's put on them, that turnovers are the be all end all, right? Because a bad shot and a long miss, a long miss rebound immediately into transition is as bad as a turnover, right? Mm-hmm. That's where a lot of the defensive numbers have actually got, like, the defensive bad numbers have gotten a little bit deflated, right? Which is like, I would like to see if we could just sort out like half court defense versus transition defense in kind of numbers like Ken Pom, right? Because I bet the bottom falls out in the transition defense for Purdue because they're just not built.
That's been your thing all season. You've said that since January, really.
And so that's why you're seeing him. You're seeing Mason kind of, instead of pull the trigger, you're seeing him pump fake and then rotate it, because he knows, hey, maybe we can get it. Make a good post look by Sasha,
but also,
or something like
Gillis is not a 3-point shooter. Like he's a guy who can shoot a high percentage, but he is not.
He is though. He is, and statistically, at one point, he was one of the best 3-point shooters in America. So we can't really. I don't think.
But his identity, I think,
his identity is not like
yet
tied to that. Shot. So,
he's a bomber though, man. I mean, like, and he should be good. Like, yeah, I think
in the next 2 years, you're going to see him.
It's already here, man. That part of his game is already here.
I never thought I would think about him as a 4-year college player and like a really cool prospect for like a deep round role player for the NBA, but he's like on that track. The jump he took with his shot, I think, also surprised him, which is what I think Michael's point is that he's not yet in the mind frame where he is that, like, in his mind, he's a shooter, like he's a 3-and-D guy, right?
Also, there's a switch that goes from being an opportunistic 3-point shooter and being a shot seeker, and he's been an excellent opportunistic 3-point shooter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I can.
And when we started like running some sets to get him a shot, like that's just a different thing for him, and that's what I think the change is going to be over the next 2 years. Is
he'll get there next year,
comfortable, like in that role.
So when Purdue makes a Final Four and is a real contender, which is 2 years from now, I think they might make the Final Four this year. Right now, the way I'm leaning, but they're a real contender in 2 years. This team in 2 years is terrifying. It's the one that I think we've been waiting for, that has depth at every position. Yeah.
2 years.
2 years.
So no Edey.
No Edey.
Because you assume he's back. At most, he's back one.
He's back next year. Yeah.
Which will be super fun.
But that team is going to
be a problem.
Gillis and Morton's team, guys. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's one that you'll have every itch scratched for the wide Purdue band. Meaning, you'll have people that just love the grinder and the guy that has the chip on his shoulder. You'll have plenty of that. You'll also have very skilled guys and these freshmen that come in that year who can match up with about anybody. My best version of that team, when I look into my crystal ball, is that. Darn nabbit, the guy with 3 names who's going to be the point guard. If he can put on about 15 to 20 pounds in the next year and a half, 2 years, holy shit. That's a scary good team. Was it Langhorne?
Dre Gibbs Longhorn.
So I mean, I think we can talk like, how does this team match up to 19? I think this is the best Purdue team I've ever seen, to be honest.
Right now.
Yes. But that's right now. But that's my opinion. But in general, you're looking at a streak of time, even just going back to 2019. But further, really, where Painter has this team playing at like a great level, and then the team has an opportunity every couple of years to be exceptional. Because I agree with you, 2 years from now, that team is going to be really scary.
Yep. But this team right now is really scary too, and that's the thing. This team is really scary. It's really easy.
Team was really scary.
Yeah. Well, no, not really. Not really.
19 wasn't scary all year.
Carson Edwards was really scary.
Carson.
He showed Carson showed us in the tournament what that team as a scary team looked like. That looked like that MFR pulling up from 35 feet and just nailing it.
That's the thing. Carson and Klein made that team scary. But the other parts are like, that's a Purdue team.
It was a great defensive team, right? Yeah. I mean, the year before, that's the
scary version of it's almost to Painter's ideal, but it's not quite there. I think 2 years from now, it's ideal.
It's the next step. But the thing with I don't quite understand the Painter detractors, right? Which is I don't you get every year. I mean, it's not. First of all, it's not like we haven't nitpicked Painter to death here on this podcast, but every year it's top 3 in the Big Ten. Every year the expectation is Sweet 16, right? And how many programs in the country have that expectation year in and year out for a decade, for 2 decades?
Maybe 5 to 10 if you're being generous.
Right.
And how many of those aren't blue bloods? Right, I mean, Purdue is not a blue blood.
They're all blue bloods.
They're all blue bloods, and maybe Michigan State if you don't count them as a blue
exactly.
blood.
You get the new blue bloods, right?
Don't you think that's a blue blood? Don't you?
They're the new. It's the new blue bloods, right? Which is
new money.
Yeah, but like UConn. I don't know if you count them, but like not anymore.
North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky.
These are the programs, and so now Purdue. These are the moments where you've got to make those runs. And again, I'm joking. We take it one game at a time, but oh my gosh, it's like it's here. It's right here. Just walk through it.
Let me ask you something. Just as we're talking about 2 years from now, what would a Final Four? Because we've always said Painter is beloved, respected. He recruits well now. He knows how to go after the right kinds of guys for his program. But we've all said, right, it changes the game if you are a Final Four program as far as makes recruiting much easier, and he's already good at it. What does a Final Four change about those next few years? It doesn't add pressure. Doesn't it release pressure? Because you'll have
for Painter it does.
I mean,
Purdue becomes Villanova, right? Villanova. To me, that's the comparison. Villanova and Jay Wright is the comparison. That's where I want Painter to be in 5 years. Is to the point where they're like, yep, you know what Painter does. You know what defines them. They are this every year.
Always a threat to be there. Yep.
And speaking of the non-blue bloods that are on this list, Gonzaga, Villanova, like these are excellent coaches. These are excellent programs. These are coaches that are nationally respected. Like these are the people that we are in conversation with. So what does a Final Four do? I mean, we've already seen what all of this winning does to Painter. It has loosened it up beyond anything. Right. So like, wow.
So I think what it does is it helps solidify what the winning image of a Purdue team looks like, because
expound upon that. I need more clarification what you're saying.
Like Purdue, for my entire childhood and most of my adulthood, has been defense first, offense as it comes for the most part. And this team has taken the next step by having exceptional offensive talent and pulling that together to say, like, we're going to still play.
You see that?
No, keep going. You're on a roll. You're on a roll.
It's good.
But these Purdue teams, like taking like those defensive principles and then having an offense around that, or recruiting the right talents. Because Painter will tell you, he gets shooters, he gets bigs, he gets like he knows like that. Then solidifies into like a cake. Like that's now like a thing
that Painter eats,
and it shows that it works because we have a Final Four to show for it. I probably had something amazing to say, but John Faker just jumped from the top.
Yeah, he totally threw the comedian.
Mark Few is a great coach. But
listen, John, every coach has their things that they're
weakness. I always say blind spots, right, Michael? A blind spot. His blind spot is right in front of him. His lower
oral hygiene.
Yeah,
bathroom mirrors are out.
He's a Pacific Northwestern guy. I mean,
dude, he looks like Skeletor. I mean, he makes how many millions a year does that dude make? Put on some Invisalign, Chief. Let's make this happen.
Skeletor.
That's why you can't get to a national championship, because those chiclets, brother.
Chiclets. Oh, yeah, there was a good point somewhere, but you got lost. We lost it.
It doesn't matter. That was
John Baker crushed that.
Man, it's here. Oh, yeah, and here's the thing.
About Final Fours.
Here's the thing. Nobody will care that Purdue didn't have to go through Kentucky or a number 1 seed. Nobody's going to care. I love it.
It doesn't matter.
You're right. Purdue's lucky. You're right. Oh no.
Luck their way into multiple
how many
wins?
times? Okay, Jay and I, we're older. Okay. We can remember, I can remember a couple teams where it felt like the pathway was paved for them and they did shit with it, right? This is a case where you're like, the pathway is paved. Just go on the walk. That's all you have to do.
Just play your seed.
But Purdue has always been built to play extremely well in conference and then underperform in the tournament. And this is the first Purdue team that I can think of that is built to underperform in conference and play extremely well out of it.
It wasn't built to underperform in conference. Okay.
But they're not built in the way that
for Big Ten ball.
They weren't built to shit themselves versus Wisconsin. Okay. That was not by design.
Oh, wait.
It's okay. Wisconsin repaid the favor in the tournament.
Right, they did.
Wisconsin playing 2 games in Milwaukee, and with the first game starting and them being like, Wisconsin has a huge contingent here, and they kind of looked shaky in their first game against Colgate. Yeah. They look kind of shaky.
Speaking of toothbrushing,
scored, 49 points in their second game? That is.
I think Brad Davison airballed his last shot or something.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Gosh, that guy.
More than hating to see it.
Senior class award finalist, Brad Davison.
Who's the Iowa player? Bohannon. Those two played against Hummel.
Same.
I swear they did. I swear both of them played against Hummel.
No, Wisconsin just has like a factory where they like crank out 6'6" white dudes who have nothing going on except dirty play, and then they forgot. They didn't flip the
breaking,
switch.
guys. Purdue beat Kansas.
Purdue beat Kansas in 92, 93, 93.
I think I'm going to shake my head for that game in the first time ever.
By the way,
and then you just decided that you liked it, and so you kept it. Is that what happened?
Can you bring up
strong head?
Yeah.
Can you bring up Nish Mitch Wright's comment a few minutes back about seeing Painter? He says, Mitch Wright says, I will always remember seeing Painter at the Chinese buffet place that used to be across from Mackey. He made sure to get his money's worth.
Yes. Thank you.
This is the Painter that we needed this year. You know what? I wasn't worried when we saw Painter in his first press conference, and we were like, "This is the year, guys. This is the year.
Good things are happening."
And then they asked, speaking of having Painter versus having all of these other coaches, and then they put together that perfect clip package with the perfect question. Hey, if you had to cook dinner, what would you cook? And everybody was like, I'm terrible. Takeout, maybe some terrible burgers on the grill. And Painter was like, what in the beef house do you want?
Yeah.
You order anything off the beef house menu, baby.
Yeah, his voice like drops on register, and he's like, the first thing we're going to do.
I think what he said was, I can pretty much do anything you want. Whatever you want. Whatever you
Just supreme confidence.
So I tweeted at him today. I was hoping that I get a little interaction with the coach. I don't think he runs his Twitter account.
What?
I actually think
I threw out some chum in the water, literally. I was
offered your butt from what I
beef house.
You offered your butt.
Yes, I offered my butt to him. And
a bacon wrapped butt.
Rejected me, and it hurt.
I think he runs his own account because I think he checks it 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And when he does tweet, it's always the stuff that you would expect, like a coach who's not comfortable with Twitter to tweet.
Right. Just recruited. Great visit.
Great.
Yeah.
Hashtag boiler up.
Program graduate players. Hashtag hammer down.
And then it's like you don't hear from him until July 17th.
Why have we never used Handel's nickname there? He says
because we're nice and we talk around. Yes. We talk around the fat painter theory.
Right. Fat painter is the best painer. We all say
it is the best. I mean, like, and
those really 2 terrible years were when he got in shape.
Yeah,
because he's just not happy, and when he's not happy, we don't need him. We need him happy and focused, and he's happy when he's happy when he's got a rack of ribs.
I love how you're trying to avoid it. You're trying to avoid it.
All of my jokes on this subject are things I don't want to put out into the universe.
Right.
Exactly.
Keep my mouth shut.
Right.
But I endorse all
painters.
I'm good with it. It's good. Lean in.
So I pulled up Matt Painter's Twitter account because it's a work of art, and his name, not his handle, but his name is Purdue's Matt Painter. Just in case you were confused
with the other one,
searching for
the other Matt Painter.
They were looking for Curtis Painter, the former Purdue quarterback.
Yeah, not him.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
There was a picture going around because they've been like going through all of the Colts quarterbacks in the last decade of, I forgot when Curtis Painter had long blonde hair.
Oh yeah.
How could you forget?
Just tremendous.
Tremendous.
By the way, Ken K says that XXX should add a fat painter burger. I like that.
You gotta get. I think every burger and every meal at XXX is named in conjunction and agreement with that person. And I don't think Painter wants to admit this.
In fact, I don't think he likes these jokes. Like,
right.
I think
but
I
the
don't
Painter,
and it makes
how do you not have the Painter burger though? Get some barbecue sauce on a burger.
Oh,
yeah, that's the one.
It's gonna right, Anish. It's gonna have cheddar cheese. It's gonna have onion rings,
bacon,
and barbecue sauce. It's gonna be a
macaroni and cheese. It's gonna be one of those burgers that has like mac and cheese on it.
Yes,
it's a Pittsburgh. It's a Pittsburgh burger. It's got the coleslaw. It's got the coleslaw and fries on it. It's the Pittsburgh burger.
The handle of like melted cheddar cheese and just dip it over the burger at the end.
That's correct.
On your head as you're eating the burger. Oh.
I ordered a
Listen, I'm not
salad.
describing anything that I would not like.
No. We are on record in only cooking 65% burgers whenever we get together.
Not just it's a lot of meat and it's a lot of fatty meat.
It's mostly fat, if we're being honest.
The burger starts out pretty normal, and then you have sliders like cooking it for a couple minutes.
Yeah, so this is something, Michael, you're hitting on a profundity that you guys hear a lot of things that I will put in our internal thread, and friends of mine have heard things that I've said in person. You guys have heard me say things that I'm like, I don't want to publish that, right? Right. And you really don't want to type it even more. So it can't be searched.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of things you could glean from all these the videos. They're in there if you're willing to dig through them, but they're harder to find. Right?
Let's just hope the Russians don't hack our group chat and publish it is really what I'm trying to say.
Right.
We'll just see how secure Signal is.
Let's just walk through the door, guys.
So that's why
it's right here.
Just walk
it's
through
just
the door.
it's right here.
Spicier ones on Signal, by the way. That's what the audio feature is for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I still can't. You guys say you can double time. I can't double time.
No.
You got to upgrade your apps, my guy.
No, it's a brand new version. I've got an Apple.
Yeah, like holds up like an iPhone 6. Like,
no, it's a mini 13. It's a real thing.
It's a cute little guy.
I got little baby hands.
Somebody asked a while back, and we should answer this because Purdue fans well known for looking ahead. Should they win Friday? Let's phrase it that way. Okay. Should they win Friday? Who would you rather face? Now, UCLA. I have to say, I think without a doubt, I don't want a hot UNC team that's figured it out. If I can choose, I guess I'm going to choose UCLA, who Michael told me at the beginning of the tournament was not very good and he did not believe in, and is now one win from the Elite Eight.
Yeah,
I understand like where they are, but like, and I haven't seen all of their games, but I've seen like 4, 5, 6 of their games, and like they've never struck me as like a dominant.
I agree. They were good last year. They were in the last year.
They flipped the switch, man. Last year, I think they were playing with.
They flipped the switch.
Last year, I think they were playing with desperation. This year, I really think they were like, okay, we know we're good. Like, let's just take half the season off and then let's flip the switch. And they did it, which is wild. They've got a ton of length. They don't have, I think they've got kind of one big guy. I think like Johnson is his name. He's fine. He's not like tremendous, but he's fine. They don't quite have the size. Armando Bacot on UNC, like
he's so much better. He's playing like he should have been playing in November, December.
If he's got it figured out, like again, against Purdue, you've got 2 bigs, which is twice the amount of fouls, is what they tell me. Like that's just a little difficult, but I don't think I mind either of them. I don't think I mind either matchup. I think I'd be okay with either of them.
I'm going to give you a little.
So that's the problem. Like you can put Ethan becoming good now, like becoming the lockdown defender that you can trust now. And he's kind of trial by fire was Marcus Carr, and he passed with flying colors, right? He had like the year to figure it out. He really did. Marcus Carr was the test and he passed. He's the guy now. So you can put him on Juzang and you hope Eric Hunter can stick with Tiger Campbell, right? And that's the play. Like that, and then you just kind of hope matchups and Purdue's bigs and Edie, and Jaden and Ivy.
Does his thing.
That's not a good matchup for Morton, though, to be honest, because Juzang is
he's good.
I think an inch or 2 taller than Ethan Morton. He's 6'6". How tall is Morton?
I think he's about the same size.
Out there,
yeah.
So like, what really was helpful with Morton and Carr was that he had height and length on him,
Mhm.
and so he could force
And
him
a
to
clear
do that.
weakness. Exactly, the clear weakness, right?
And Juzang loves going left. He can also go right. He's got a great mid-range game.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really good basketball
good
player.
I have a question.
I'm not afraid of like Tiger at all. Like I think he's
a good point guard, right? He's
you
a good.
You say throw a little Isaiah Thompson on him, it's fine. Is what you're saying. I think.
Purdue fans hating on Isaiah. I don't totally. I'm not
He'll be fine.
Nobody hating on him. Come on, bro.
No, a lot of. Oh no. A lot of.
Oh yeah,
hate
no,
on
He's a role player.
No, a lot of people are like, why does he play at all? It's because
people are
Hunter
stupid.
can't play 40
I don't know if you know
minutes.
this. When you have 18, 17,000 followers, there's going to be some duds in the whole bunch. I don't know how else to say it.
You're talking about shit. What
I'm
was
trying
his
to get
name?
everybody unfollowed.
Who's the celebrity who follows everybody who followed us? Like, oh shoot, there's a guy who followed us years ago, and he follows like 100,000 people, and it's
a big Purdue fan, clearly.
Oh, fine.
We have an actor. We have an actor who's a Purdue grad who follows us. It's awesome, actually. I love it.
There you go.
I can't remember.
Well, I was
he's
gonna
a
ask a
Chicago
question.
native. He's an actor. He lives in Hollywood. He was talking about he's excited to watch Purdue in Hollywood. He's going to be the only person rooting for Purdue on the West Coast.
Hey, listen, we got a
For
couple
sure.
West Coasters.
Well, I was going to ask a question about
He's
maybe
an
we're going to wrap
actor.
soon because we're at an hour. But
Let's go.
What?
I had a thought on this.
Time
This last
flies.
two games, the
It's so
defense has
fun.
played so much better.
Oh,
But does a better defensive effort beget 20-0 runs and 13 missed shots in a row? Or does Yale and Texas both going cold for huge stretches make Purdue's defense look better? Or can it just be both? Maybe it's
I think it's both.
I don't think you like stumble backwards into a 20-0 run.
I mean,
Purdue
and they just
play
look
great in that
better
run.
though. But the other part of this is like the defense doesn't look as chaotic. Now,
Yes.
Trevion will do the thing where he allows a backdoor lob, and that'll just kind of like my blood pressure will go through the roof every now and then. There's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is at this point. But kind of the worst part about this Purdue defense was that they weren't on the same string that they usually were. You know, like everybody knows the rules where if you are on the weak side, you're kind of measuring halfway between the paint and your man, the ball, and the paint. You're kind of drawing a line between that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody has like those we know Painter, we know how methodical he is. Everybody on the court has a rule that they can just follow. It's very simple, and they didn't do it. The difference in the Texas game is that they followed it, right? Again, they allowed those lobs. It is what it is. But everybody was on their line, and nobody was kind of overplaying it. Nobody was, going for the home run steal, right? Jaden was active. It was probably because he wasn't getting it on the offensive side of the ball in the first half, right? That's what he actually kind of responded by playing a little more active on defense, which is great. I mean, that's the pro, right? Like that's where you see a guy like Jaden, who's a coach's son, who, I mean, like it's kind of like he's the perfect package, right? I mean, like he's got the mentality of a coach's son. He's got the athleticism of John Morant, and he's got the killer instinct to take that long three that pretty much killed every Purdue fan. Up three with a minute.
That three, guys, everything that led to it. That's a guy who
not afraid.
The negative, not afraid at all. And more than not afraid, he wants all of it. He put it on my shoulders. And that's the thing we've talked about for years. That's the thing that moves you on in a tournament. A guy that's willing to just say, okay, just throw it on. I'm going to carry you.
Zero hesitation.
I'm okay with this. Right. But the bigger thing. So I wish I can completely agree with that. It was a beautiful sentiment, Anish. Okay. But my whole thing, you're welcome. But the bigger thing that I think that really gets Ivy his blood pumping is the bright lights and the big stage.
Mm-hmm.
He knows this is the biggest stage he's going to have at Purdue. He knows there's a bigger stage coming, but he knows that this is the thing that makes him a legend. I really believe that.
Well, his calm, I think I said it to you, like his calm
different
in the press conference, though, he said, they asked about, just something about, staying calm and not letting emotion. And he said that the Texas players were being physical and they were talking, they were chirping, he said, constantly.
Yep.
And he never, so I'll compare him
to
Carson.
He was pissed. He was mad. right?
Yeah, but he never changed his demeanor.
Right.
He looked exactly. Carson used to know when he was irritated with somebody.
You could
point at the
Carson
scoreboard.
into
He would
making
dunk in your face.
Right.
He had a lot of fun with that stuff because he could back it up.
And Ivy would do that. By the way, he did dunk in their face.
That
he
dunk.
He wanted them to feel it in their freaking balls. Right. He took that hard dribble, and he was like,
and then just
right.
Yeah.
That was his first basket.
He almost did it again.
I would take a week. Whenever the good Lord deems it that I die, I would take a week off of it just to dunk like that once in my life.
Oh yeah, of course.
Sorry.
Just a week.
I got bad news for you, Nish.
I'm good. Just once. That's a deal. I'm willing to make the deal.
You're willing to make that deal. Wow.
1 week.
week.
Yeah, I'll take it.
You'll
just
take a week off when you can't remember anything.
Yeah.
And so you can dunk like that right now.
So if you're talking about, listen, that's my first.
Amazing. What is that? That is beautiful.
That's my first offer. I'm willing to negotiate.
So God, now we can start.
We're in a
Make me an offer, bro.
Conversation.
Make me an offer. On the defensive front, I don't know if they track this as an official statistic, but I do think it's important. The number of times that I've seen Mason Gillis shove a teammate into the right position on defense has decreased over the course of the season. So that to me,
that's a sign that the defense is getting better.
Exactly.
It's not like when I'm coaching.
It has not happened just one time.
I've noticed it.
You go over here. It's like when I'm coaching. Yeah, here. You need to be here. Yeah, that's talk about a coach on the floor.
Trying to be as nice as I can here. It's so good.
This is a good team. This is fun. They are legit. They are legitimately 10 deep. That's crazy. That's wild. You can play any of 10. Horns down.
I'm wanting to do this for a while. F you and your sensitive horns down.
Exactly. Shit. You guys act like, listen, my grandfather's from Texas. He's passed away. But he had all the moxie of a Texas person, and it like absolutely talked about Texas being better than other states. And that's what I think about when I think of Texas. I think of my grandpa being a badass. Okay. So when these little lilies talk about they can't handle this, get out of here, dude. Now you're going to have me poking you in the eye every chance I get. So guess what? You earn this, bitches.
Here's the problem is that I do think that Chris Beard is going to get it. Chris Beard in Texas is going to be a problem.
Enjoy it. They're going to Final Four.
It's an issue.
For years.
Being a sports fan is all about embracing the moment. And if you ever have a chance, you don't you do not worry about tomorrow. You talk your shit as much as you can.
I want him on the other side of the bracket forever.
Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you guys a question. I mentioned this and it came up in my brain, in my subconscious. I started saying they're going to play Chris Beard in Texas multiple times in the next 2 years. In 10 years. 10 years. How many times do you think Purdue will play Chris Beard's Texas team in the next 10 years?
I will go.
Tournaments.
Good vibes only.
I will go on.
He just beat him. Shut up, Dowd.
I will go on. I think this is Beard's job. Unless Beard goes to the NBA, I think this is his career job. I think this is the job that he's always
Texas
wanted.
Graduate. This is his school.
And he's not. You can put the Blue Bloods on the table, but Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, UNC, I think he sticks at Texas, and I think it's a better fit for him. And so over the next, Painter's going to be here, right? Yeah. So it's going to happen. I think
they did a thing. I forget which of the 8 million studio shows with 14 people on each desk, but they were talking before one of the games. It was before one of the Purdue games. It was that part of the day where Purdue was coming up soon. And they did this little, maybe it was impromptu. They're like, who do you think the best kind of you know what it was? It was in relation to Krzyzewski retiring and playing Izzo, who's getting older. And it was who do you think, that's what it was. It was who carries the mantle, whatever. But who carries the K, who's the next great, name some next great coaches. And they're rattling off all sorts of names. Never mentioned Matthew Painter, who's got what?
Wait. Who is that panel? Was it Charles Barkley and a bunch of clowns?
No, it was more of the college guy. It was Seth Davis and
Seth Davis.
No,
I just don't think you can pay attention to any of that.
I'm just saying, it's right there in front of you. A guy who's 51 years old and has 400 wins already.
Right. But
Jay,
don't you agree with this? Because I think you do. And Anish and I have talked about this a lot. That the real college basketball media, the people that this is what they do for a living, not the people that do it as a hobby at the end of the season. Yeah. They want so bad for Painter to take a seat at that table. Yeah. These dumbasses that we see this time of year, it's a shame, right? The product is so good and the periphery is so crap. Bob Huggins is hilarious.
Who's a friend of Matt Painter's. We all know that, right? The secret little friendship with all the scrimmages. And then they go before that game and they're like, and he picks Texas. Like, you know what, Bob? Eat it.
Exactly. Suck on all of it, Bob.
By the way, perhaps the least charismatic person on camera.
Oh, it's
amazing. Did Michael? You the one who said is he there against his will? In our
like is he there under duress?
There's a gun in his back.
You know what I noticed? Here's an observation.
He's like a PA just right behind him. Like answer the
gun.
Question.
But no. If he's on again, here's what I noticed that makes it so bad. Unlike TV people who understand that when you get asked a question, you answer it in like 10 or 12 seconds. He talks for like 3 minutes. They're like, what do you think of this game? And he just meanderingly goes on. And sometimes they'll pan out to the wide shot, and everybody at the desk is just like looking at him because they don't know when he's going to stop. Because
Candace Parker is like, my knowledge of basketball is greater than the rest of these fools combined.
Right. Well, I love Candace Parker.
Because Rex is on Rex Chapman, guy. First of all, Rex Chapman, who is now most of his Twitter followers probably have no clue that he was a basketball player.
He never played basketball.
Oh, Rex. He said somebody was dead, and he got so obliterated.
One of his colleagues at CBS.
Pete Gillen is like, this is when he comes out from underneath his rock is the NCAA tournament time.
He's like, rest in peace, Pete Gillen.
Rest in peace.
What?
My favorite combination, though, is still like Chuck and Kenny and Clark Kellogg. Clark Kellogg, who's a college basketball guy.
I said to you guys,
and they put him right next to those two, and then the camera always stays panned out so you can see him react.
Watch the reaction.
He doesn't know what to do.
I love it. It's amazing because
he's so good. It's the best thing about that panel.
It is. That panel is pure entertainment.
Here's another thing.
That is the keeping up with Kardashians of college basketball.
In our group chat, we've also talked about how, sure, we all of us, I think, liked Grant Hill. Good player, nice guy by all accounts.
God.
But he's aggressively boring. Doesn't even say much.
He's a color commentator that adds nothing.
He's like a ham and cheese sandwich without the cheese.
Do you realize he pushed out Clark Kellogg? They put Kellogg in the studio.
Yeah.
In favor of Grant Hill. It used to be Nance and Kellogg for all the big games in the tournament.
Kellogg
was decent.
Kellogg's fun, yeah.
Kellogg's a decent.
Here's a wild theory. Why don't we stick with the play-by-play and color crews that have been announcing college basketball the whole year and that have been sticking with this? Why not? Why, if we don't pull NBA crews?
Radio does that, and Westwood One has Benetti and Hummel calling tournament games together, and it's fantastic. Benetti did a bullseye.
Talk about a guy that's ready to take his seat at the table. Hummel is in an elite group right now. Oh, yeah. Like, to me, it looks like he is so close to being
so good.
Him and Ray Davis are both very good.
Davis has been a good color.
A little bit on
the studio.
I need to push back on the studio analyst or announcer, whatever, because I enjoy complaining about the crappy announcers way more.
So you like them being bad?
Good announcers,
right?
You know what I mean? Like,
it's just entertainment for you.
To compare Grant Hill to a ham and cheese sandwich without the cheese than it is for them to have like a really good
Benetti,
Benetti or Hummel.
I'm just gonna be honest.
Hey, so Painter's got 384 or 385 Big Ten wins. Mm-hmm. Izzo, I don't know when he's going to finish, but Izzo's currently at like what 670.
Just passed, right? He just became the winningest Big Ten.
And he's got 27 years. Painter's at 17.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a shot? I mean, like, it depends, I suppose, on how much longer Izzo coaches, but like, it's gonna be like
200 to 300 more wins.
It'll be
another 10 years
because Painter's not gonna.
Like, it'll be Izzo, Bob Knight, Gene Katie, and Matt Painter at the top of the Big Ten, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's wild.
Yeah. I think Painter will be third or fourth when it's all kind of when it
And
comes
how
out.
long he goes. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
see him being a 68-year-old coach, but maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I
mean, that's
can see him being a
15,
68-year-old coach, but you think he'll hang it up a little bit before that.
Because he started so early. He started so young.
Right. He seems to me like I talk about this. There's some really good things in Purdue's athletic department right now. Let's give credit where credit's due. We've done it a couple times. Let's do it again and say Mike Babinski is doing exactly what he plans to do. Purdue is really finding excellence across the board in all different sports, right? But one thing you see with Brom and Painter both specifically right now is like a sense of calm and confidence that guy's not going to screw them, that he wants to get what's best for everybody involved. And I think I haven't heard Painter ever talk about money, like ever get like edging towards like, we've got some, like there, you don't hear from what's Buddy, what's his name? Painter's agent.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah. Painter it's clear that he has the resources that he needs.
Right. And he's getting what he wants, which is awesome. He should be.
He doesn't want to go anywhere. He loves it there.
He loves what he's doing, I think.
He also has like a really solid network. So when positions become available on his staff, his hires have been really good.
I honestly
people
think
will come to him now. That's the difference. Is he's in the position now where he's creating a tree because guys are like, I'd like to come on Matt Painter's bench so I can get the next
finishing school. Yeah,
right.
Like what Shrewsbury did, right?
I need to like give a shout out to Shrewsbury for a second, because after they lost to Purdue in the Big Ten tournament, they asked him what he was going to do, or whether he was going to watch tape or whatever. And the dude said he was going to put on footy pajamas and crack open a Dr. Pepper. And
It's so good.
The pajamas with the feet is what he said.
Those footy pajamas would have to be. He's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
Mike is a big guy. That's
he learned that. That's Painter humor. That
is absolutely Painter humor, because it's like, take your job seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. That's like the epitome of this thing, right? And
I hope Mike is good there. Gosh, I'm so hopeful that he's good.
Yeah.
Like, and I hate Penn State, but I
think he's good. 18 games a season?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a tough place to win a lot of games.
It's really hard.
You don't need to win a lot. Let's be honest. Make the tournament a few times, and you will be there as long as you want, I think.
It's the Chris Collins rule.
Yeah. Yeah. Top 4, top 5 finish in the Big Ten once, and people will be like, I mean, look what Rutgers is doing. Don't tell me it can't be done. Look at Rutgers.
Yeah, I often look at
Michael's awesome. Michael's awesome.
But they were an absolute doormat. They were worse than Penn State basketball by a lot. And they beat literally every good team in the Big Ten this year.
It's tough to, in all seriousness, it's an interesting thing for them. They've got to replace 2 program-defining talents, though.
Yes, they're going to take a step.
But thank God we're not going to see
Geo Baker again, because
Ron Harper Jr. again.
Goodness gracious!
I mean, as much as I just have the utmost respect for both of their games, because they are both ballers.
Oh yeah.
I do not ever want to see them line up against my team ever again.
It's whatever the opposite of how I feel about Jordan Bohannon, and that whatever the opposite, that's Geo Baker and Ron Harper. They're great.
You'd be happy to see Bohannon again?
I'm great.
Over and over?
I'm sick of it. I don't want to see his stupid face.
I don't ever want to see
the other.
But for like completely different reasons.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Davison, same thing.
Wrap your head around this, guys. I talked to LBD about this. Wrap your head around this. A week from now, 7 days from now, we will either be in the normal world that we exist and we've known to exist our whole adult, and for me, my entire life, where Purdue goes on and they lose a tournament game and you're like, good season, that was fun, maybe next year, or
that's it. Just that's it.
Or I'm going to be trying to figure out, do I go down to New Orleans and just hang out with everybody, or nut up and actually spend way too much money to get into the
we've got plenty of time to figure that out.
Yeah.
But think about that. That's 7 days, guys. And if you're old like me, you're like, 7 days is nothing, right? Yeah. This is fun. And I really feel like we're on the precipice of something. Maybe even if it's not this year, I've been talking about this since
2019 in the concourse.
You said
after the most heartbreaking
I now believe
loss.
They're going to go. And I've given you credit for this because you've been looking optimistically, for you especially, that even if they lose, you're saying I still think, because I said to you guys on the last one, I think, does Purdue get to a Final Four regardless of this year? Do they get to the Final Four in the next, what did I say, 3 years or 4 years or something? And you guys were like, absolutely, all of you.
Yeah.
So you're past me there. Like I
Justin died that night.
Is stressing me out.
Yeah.
Can't J Money pay for everyone to go? All right, John. I don't know if you were the one
Okay,
earlier
enough.
making courtside jokes,
He's got kids that need to go to college.
Yeah. Listen, the Butler death fights that he hosts every Friday don't pay for themselves.
you know I'll wind up financing something if there's a Final Four in the offing, so you can all shut your holes. You know there will be something put together for you idiots.
That's right.
If you guys who are in the margins make it to New Orleans, and Purdue also makes it to New Orleans,
he's going to offer something up for me.
Jay will.
A flock of helicopters.
The most selfless thing a man can do is offer someone else's resources and goods.
Well, I'm stressed. I can tell you that there was no more stressful day than when I felt like I did a whole day's worth of things, and it was noon on Sunday, and Purdue didn't play until
you had
9
hours to kill still.
It's like, what? I just had a day. Why?
It wasn't. It was because it was Texas. It was because it was Beard.
Yeah,
it was because of that more than.
And they're great. They were a very good team. They didn't kind of gel and win as much as they probably could have. Obviously, they were top 5 in the preseason, but they were to be feared. And I was just like, in the preseason they were
Texas
number 5.
I thought they were top 10.
No, I think they were number 5 in the preseason.
I don't think
poll.
he's wrong, guys. I don't think he's wrong.
And
do you realize they said they hadn't won a tournament game in like 6 years?
Yeah.
So did Shaka never win a tournament game there?
Is anybody smarter and better at selling something than Shaka Smart?
I remember bringing that up 5 or 6 years ago, and I got pilloried for it.
Right.
I still have Shaka stock, and I am waiting. I'm waiting.
You're going to be waiting a long time. It's already seen its high point.
Has anybody later run into more of a career than Shaka Smart? I don't know.
Right.
One run.
Wait, hold on. Isn't USC's coach the former Florida Gulf coach?
Yes.
Gulf Coast guy.
Is it Insel?
Indy. Yeah.
Oh, and I think I shared with you guys. He was USC was posting about not getting the respect that UCLA gets.
Dude, he just got an extension. Just like
they went to an Elite Eight a couple of years ago, and they gave out rings to the team and hung a banner for an Elite Eight, and rightly were
Did Tom Crean tell him that was a good idea?
Oh, it's so great. And then there was an article in the LA Times at the start of the tournament about how them bitching, literally on the record, that UCLA does anything and they get respect. Where's our respect? UCLA went to the Final Four last year.
Exactly. It's a big deal.
It's better than an Elite Eight.
Yeah, they've had some
coming from some people. We know the Elite Eight, and we also know the Final Four is a way big different, story. Getting to that third weekend is a big deal. It's a big deal.
I don't think there was one in 2019. I think that the Purdue played a great game, and then there was no more basketball.
Right. That was it. And they even canceled it the next year after that.
They canceled. There wasn't anymore. Yeah.
Why even have it if Purdue can't go?
That's generally what the committee says. Why have it if Purdue can't go?
What are we doing? Yeah.
Yeah. This is
I'm stressed. But it's okay. It'll be good.
Let me ask you guys one final question, okay? And I'm going to prompt it. It should be relatively quick. Friend of mine. So I teach a college course. I'm a guest instructor, much like Michael. Is that true? Are you in the same role?
No, he's in real. He's real world.
Oh yes, I'm not going to be that. I'm not going.
No, you've still got the guest pass.
He solves the math problems at night. Oh wait, that's a plot to a movie. Hold on.
Yeah. I'm not doing any math. Okay. But one of the guys who I teach with, he said, I texted Dowd about 5 minutes into the Texas Purdue game, and they know that I have a problem. The students do. And he sounded like he was already pissed off and not enjoying himself. And I said, that's true. And he said, you don't even join the games? I said, oh no, I don't enjoy these games at all. So do you guys, serious question, do you enjoy these games during the
you
games?
mean? Like literally during?
Yeah.
I don't enjoy the game.
Thank you.
There are stretches that I enjoy. I very much enjoyed that Jaden Ivey dunk.
That's a lot of fun. I agree.
But like,
yeah.
as soon as the game is over, like I'm feeling really good. But
Yeah.
like in the game,
I can't be around people.
Nope.
Like I can be around my wife because
Anish.
at this point we
Thank
have
you.
been to all of the games. Like we went to college together. We went to.
Plus,
She
like,
knows.
She has to put up with you like legally.
Right.
Anyway,
Document.
exactly.
I watch in the basement. The rest of the family's upstairs.
Yeah. I go out.
The three of us, like me
I'm not
and my
alone.
two
Then is what we're saying.
Me and my two roommates are like from college. We're like the kind of the biggest diehards.
You're
We went
talking
to
about your
every
wife
single
and
game.
your dog.
We
and
got
your
it
roommates.
exactly. Wrigley would not dare go to these games.
Dang, I thought Sam was.
So the three of us took three very different tacts to watching Purdue games. One of us was a yeller. All he did was scream at the screen, and he was like very demonstrative. He's just he was trying to coach through the screen. Me, I sit in the corner and I sink into the couch.
This, aren't you?
Yes, correct. Correct. With my head, with my hoodie over.
I'm not a yeller.
I literally like cross my arms. I'm usually too nervous to even have a beer. Like I really can't. Like I'm just watching the game and not saying a word. And then the other one isn't even watching the game. He's on his phone, but knows exactly what's going on. Yeah. He can't even look at the game.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So it's like
here's what I am. I've come to so as I get older, it used to be yeller. I was just always yelling. Okay. Yes. Now I've gotten to the point where I'm quiet for long periods and then just the worst curse word.
Eruption.
Correct. That's about where I am.
I don't want it to happen.
It's awful.
LVD is right here to my left. I feel bad about it. His friend Jared, who's been live with us multiple times, he was also live. His dad and I are old buddies, and I just blurt out an F-bomb for no reason. And I'm like, why?
That's me now. That's me now.
Yeah, I was doing that during the game.
I'm the worst version of me, is what I'm saying. I'm horrible.
The worst version. Well,
correct.
There's no more Purdue fan kind of, because you'll all relate to this. Yeah. Purdue goes on a 20-0 run,
right?
And I felt like,
but they're only up 14, which pissed me off.
It was almost a bad thing. I was like,
yes,
no.
Early leads are fake. All early leads are fake.
How many teams have had a 20-0 run and lost? Can't be that many. But that's a first thought in my head when that happens. And then, it's a 6.
You know what I thought? I was like, why aren't they up by 25? Why aren't they up by 30?
Yes.
All early leads. Now that the three-pointer has become so well shot by everybody, all early leads at every level of basketball are fake.
Right.
Yeah.
So
by
just
early,
keep pushing.
3/4 of the game might still be counted as early.
Well, that's Purdue early. That's the curve.
No, North Carolina.
Early is
that was wild.
25-point lead in 10 minutes.
That was wild. But yes,
that was so dumb. That game made me angry. I don't care about either of those teams. I was mad watching North Carolina.
The refs.
There was
what are they doing to these guys?
There were so many drunken games. That's what I think I said to you guys. I not only didn't want Purdue to lose because I obviously don't want Purdue to lose, but it would sap my interest in the entire tournament. Yeah. And it has been so good. There have been so many insane second halves. It's been so good. It's been one of the better ones. And I know that gets said a lot, but there have been so few like dud games or teams advancing that you just can't stand. Yeah. Like, and the ones that you don't like still sort of earned it. Like Duke kind of earned it against Michigan State. Like, although, man, I can't wait for him to lose. I cannot wait.
Here's the thing. Yeah. Like this tournament, here's the thing this tournament, the end of Duke season has done for me. I believe in Paolo Banchero. Like that dude is good. He is so good.
I saw a thing that was like
Pablo Ranchero.
Yes, that's Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yeah, I'm like that's he's got to be Ranchero. There's no other name that I can
exactly.
So
what, Michael?
He's
all right, guys. So are we meeting next week as we prepare for the Final Four? Is that what we're going to do?
Correct.
Yes. What?
The what?
Stress. You don't help the stress.
We're taking it one game at a time.
I keep saying this to people on Twitter, and nobody's seeing my vibe, and that it doesn't matter what B. Dowd thinks. There's a guy, Ken, earlier said I'm too pessimistic, and that's why Purdue doesn't win. Well, screw you, Ken. Number one, it doesn't matter what I think. If you haven't figured this out, my optimism, my pessimism, my outlook, my random blaring of curse words for no good reason during the game don't affect anything. I've learned a long time ago. Jay is seeing me on a wide spectrum more than anybody else. Jay knew me as a 19-year-old. Jay knows me now as a 46-year-old, and he knows there's been a difference. I've tried to handle this every way, and it has ended the same way every time, which is me crumbled up and sad.
Yeah, but now we got Jade Ivy.
Now we got Jade Ivy.
Now we got Jade Ivy.
Anybody?
Hey, thanks to our sponsors, Martin Vintage.
Oh yeah,
Gridiron Metalworks and AJ's. These guys are great. Seriously, they put up with us all year. Somehow, they still sponsor the show. They sponsor.
It's really amazing that they want to respond.
I don't know why they would do it, but they do.
I don't know why.
So go see them when you go to the spring game this year. Go to AJ's, and then like before you go to AJ's, order your T-shirt, order some grill grates if the website's up and running. Friends at Gridiron Metalworks. They're boiled at checkout wherever you can. And even at AJ's, just yell out boiled when you
correct.
Give them your...
Just yell. Be a yeller.
Yeah, boiled.
Boiled!
Correct. They'll probably bring eggs in a confused way, but
right,
that's okay.
Exactly.
That's why.
For you?
Here? Is this
here?
You?
Gentlemen,
well,
I think we actually, and I will go up back and watch the tape. I will listen to the tape. I think this may be the best 4-man we've ever done. I have a massive problem with the 4-man forum. I think this was pretty good. We didn't step on each other too bad.
And Michael joining generally is what you mean? That's what you have a problem with?
Incredible. Yeah, I generally have a problem with Michael. Yes.
That's what
you should see every day. You know how like John Rothstein does like the get up and grind tweets?
Yes.
Like every morning.
Some robotic weird tweet. Yes.
Eat shit and die like every day. Dad.
And it's the minute stamps are different, so you know it's not automated.
You know it's not an auto.
It's like 7:01,
yep.
6:59,
correct.
7 o'clock. Every morning I know he has to.
He's such a robot. That guy is such a robot.
I love it. I mean,
he's not real. He's not real. He's
AI.
You
give a message to Coach Knight.
Yeah, he's not real.
I had so much fun hammering him about that with Digger Phelps. Why didn't he ask Mike Bray what if he had a message for Digger Phelps?
That's amazing.
Jerk off.
He's
like a bird. Birds aren't real either.
But yeah, birds and John Rothstein aren't real.
John Rothstein are not real.
I don't think that anything has sent a chill down my spine more than Boiler Dowd about 10 minutes ago saying a week from now will either be the exact same place or in a very different place.
Like my jaw hurts.
Yep. Only 3 more days.
Got like a metallic taste in my mouth now, and I can't move my left arm.
Buddy, what could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Nothing,
anyway,
buddy.
we will see you. We will see you maybe in Philadelphia. We'll see.
All right. I love you guys. Good night.